Chapter 1, Part 2. As he emerged from Dublin Airport Tunnel traveling into Dublin city centre, Colin King looked at his solid gold watch, which showed the time of 9:15 a.m. King never rushed for anyone, especially the recently appointed Minister of Trade and Employment. King had met hundreds of ministers in his life, and this one would be no different. They come and they go, but in the end they were just peasants to him, suckling at the teat of power and certainly not worthy of a second of King's very valuable time. King was summoned to discuss the illegal employment practices at his beef plants with the minister. For years he had covertly brought workers from Eastern Europe to Ireland who, lured by the promise of wages, endured poor working conditions. A major UK newspaper recently dubbed them his Oompa Loompas, a revelation that stunned its readership. King provided them cash payments and cramped accommodations in a nearby housing estate. This approach significantly reduced King's operational expenses. Coupled with other illicit activities and favorable deals with Ireland's government-owned banks, King Meats dominated the European beef market, expanding rapidly across Ireland, the UK, and into Central and Eastern Europe. However, pre-Brexit trade talks concerning the import of Irish beef and other agricultural goods into the UK brought King's practices into the spotlight. The UK consistently raised concerns about King's illegalities, especially given the discussions around the potential for a hard border. As Ireland warned of renewed tensions in Northern Ireland should such a border be established, King's actions became pivotal in the Brexit negotiations, necessitating a satisfactory explanation for the UK government. As King's driver, a well-built and handsome Polish man in his 30s followed the usual route to King's Hotel, the Leinster Grand, situated across from the National Museum of Ireland, and more importantly, Leinster House. King issued a reminder: "Don't speed. This meeting isn't important. If you get a damn ticket, you'll be covering the cost." "Yes, Mr. King," the driver responded in his Polish accent, keeping his focus on the road. They were driving through the Dublin Docklands en route to the bridge that would take them to the elite south side of Dublin. King was clearly irritated at having to travel to Dublin in the snow to meet a junior minister, and moreover a woman. He found Irish women in leadership particularly challenging. He believed his persuasive skills faltered with them, especially those he felt were trying to prove themselves against him. This particular minister seemed no exception to his generalizations. King typically only engaged with senior ministers, notably his ally, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the new Taoiseach, Declan Fitzpatrick. The current Prime Minister, seen by many as an icon for change due to his sexuality, was young and an outsider. King had expected Minister Declan Fitzpatrick, whom he and his associates had groomed, to be in the role. However, the party's progressive wing had opted for a fresh face at the helm. Since his near incarceration during the beef fraud tribunals in the 1990s, King had always maintained a distance from governmental scrutiny, even if it originated at the EU level. His modus operandi was instructing the Prime Minister, who would then rally any reluctant ministers. King despised challenging questions, viewing them as affronts to his authority. In his view, nobody had the right to challenge him, especially in his own domain. On Kildare Street stood King's Hotel, the Leinster Grand. Though it had seen minimal investment in the past 2 decades, King had ambitious plans to transform it into a 6-star establishment soon. This hotel was a key asset in his property portfolio, which also featured several commercial buildings around Dublin. Remarkably, many of these buildings housed government agencies as their long-term tenants. These assets, once repossessed by the nationalized banks during the 2012 Celtic Tiger collapse, were acquired by King at a discounted rate. King's driver took a turn into a lane opposite the National Museum, approaching a discreet garage door that blended seamlessly with its surroundings. As they neared, King activated a handheld remote, prompting the hidden door to open, allowing entrance for his sizable car.